if you're watching this, we are the first people to be sent to prison in the UK for anti-fracking action.
Cuadrilla's site at Preston New Road is the UK's first high-volume hydraulic fracturing site.
There was a protest camp up at Preston New Road, and on one morning, Cuadrilla, the fracking company, tries to bring in a convoy of 8 vehicles carrying fracking equipment past the camp onto the site. And various people ran out into the road and slowed the convoy down to a stop. And once the convoy was stopped, 4 of us climbed on top of the lorries and we remained up there for 3 days.
I got on this lorry about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd only had half of my first cup of tea, and I was just in shorts and t-shirt. The only reason I was able to stay up for 3 days and 3 nights was because local people handed up clothing, sleeping bags, food.
I've known since I was 14, because I got taught in school, that fossil fuels are not really the future. They're not really the way forward, and unconventional gas exploration like this fracking is not even a good way of going about getting fossil fuels.
And globally, if all of the technically recoverable shale gas was recovered and burned, we're looking at 500 billion tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent, enough to blow 2 degrees, God knows 3 degrees warming. For me, it's a global injustice, and the impacts of climate change felt first by the communities least resilient, who never caused a problem, like Bangladesh, like the Sahel. Really serious humanitarian disasters we're looking at through climate change.
People living locally to the site, before it's even started, have seen their house prices depreciate by 10%. They're threatened for water quality and the health of their family and their children. I work as a soil scientist, and fracking poses a great threat to our soil, because if there's leaks and contamination, they'll pollute the soil which takes thousands of years to develop, and once it's contaminated, that's very problematic for growing food and anything else.
Protest is like a safety valve for democracy, right? We wouldn't have the vote, we wouldn't have ended slavery, we wouldn't have had civil rights, we wouldn't have had a decent working week, we wouldn't have half of the parks and open spaces that we actually have around the country if it wasn't for protest. Protest is what keeps the government in check. It is a very reasonable check for corporate power and for that influence that corporate power has on the government. It's an essential thing in a healthy democracy.
When we were found guilty, the judge warned us that we'd be most likely facing a custodial sentence for this action. My sister is due to give birth quite soon, and she'd asked me to be her birth partner and be there at the birth to help support her. If I'm in prison, I won't be able to be there to support my sister at the birth of her second child.
Yeah, what you're going to miss at that time?
What? I mean, everything. That's the purpose of prison, isn't it? They put you in a white box with daytime TV if you're lucky, and they separate you from all the things you love. I think we will win, because this is a last-ditched attempt to squeeze the remaining fossil fuels from the earth. It's like industry clinging on to an old paradigm of the way things operate, and it's too late for that to be considered okay now.
In Wales and Scotland, there's at least a temporary ban. In other countries like the Netherlands, Germany and France, fracking is banned.
They want to frack because they want some gas, they want money and they want power. But what's at stake for us is much bigger.